People, deluded, I'm back again. Fridays equals Q&A days, folks, and without, further ado, I'd like to crack on with just doing that, and I'd like to also praise you lot for your questions. There's diverse questions. No question is stupid. If I've missed you out, I apologize, but like I said, I thank you for asking your questions. So without wasting your time, let me crack on, man, because we're going to be here for a long one, and to be fair, I don't want to be here all day. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you lot, people. Quite hungry. But Ryan has said, is Pepe our first out-and-out dribbler at this club, as in a guy who wants to take people on versus a low block? Well, in recent years, yeah. I mean, the last one off the top of my head, who was that really and truly? It was probably Alexis Sanchez when he first arrived. There's not too many, and if I can't remember you off the top of my head, then they clearly weren't good. I think that's the case. I think he's confident with a ball. Obviously, there's a lot of teething problems with Pepe that he needs to get over, but to a degree, yes, I agree. DS Boss has said, realistically, do you think Kroenke's cash injection is just to help financially support the club during this crisis, or can you see some amount of money going into transfers? Well, I guess some money will be trickled down into transfers, my guy, but primarily it's probably a cash injection to keep this afloat, and he probably did that with a heavy heart. It wouldn't surprise me if this is just a loan like he's done before, and he's going to slap serious interest on this, and Arsenal are going to have to pay him back even more. Well, technically he'd be paying back himself because he owns the club, sadly. So yeah, 100% Gooner said, what advice do you have for someone who's trying to have his own content? Now, people always ask me this, my friends, people on the internet, and I don't know why, because I've got 20,000 subscribers. I'm not the biggest. I ain't no Oscar award winning sort of guy. I just make content and talk about football. First and foremost, I'd say, again, your name is Gooner, 100% Gooner, so I'm assuming you want to make football content. I don't know that, but make sure you have a passion for it. Not just a passion for football and liking football. You need a passion, because do you lot, as much as I like speaking to you lot people, do you really think that there isn't better things I could be doing with my time than making video on video? Sometimes it's not widely received as much as you hoped it would be. There's going to be dark moments where you make content. You're going to think, is it appreciated? Is it worth it? Am I actually good at what I'm doing? And that's why you need the passion, because I've asked myself all these questions, but I've always remembered to myself, basically, whatever you see me doing now, I was doing that in the playground, or doing that with my friends, or doing that at games. So, make sure it's a real big passion for you, whether you want, it's football content, whether, you could be making a cooking channel. Make sure there's a passion, because everybody can start something for a day or two or a week, but you will see the inconsistencies, and it sounds cliche, but you get out what you put in. Apologies, like I said, I haven't got anywhere I wanted, but the little connections and little progress I've been able to make is purely because I've been simply tenacious, in my approach and my pursuit of trying to, improve myself and make a good go of this. So I'd say make sure you've got the passion for it, make sure you're open to constructive criticism, but by the same token, be able to differentiate what is just nonsense and what is constructive criticism. You also got to remember to have your own opinions. And I'd say remember that nobody cares. Nobody cares. Everyone's got a sob story. Nobody cares. Try harder. Nobody cares. So I'd say that. Anthony John Cyrus has asked, big up yourself, Cyrus, man, because I've met you. You're a cool brother. You said, of all the professional footballers you've seen develop into professional footballers, of all the players you've seen develop into professional footballers over the years, which one frustrates you the most in terms of wasted potential? For me, it'll always be, it's completely different, but it'll be Balotelli. Purely because I think he's obviously had a good career. He's had a great career. He's had a good career, done some good moments. He's actually, remember Euros where he helped get Italy to the final? But I genuinely feel he could have went down as, I'm not saying better than this guy or that guy, but I think he could have went down as a serious hallmark in the game. I think he could have been a serious striker. I think he had it all, to be honest. And he's been good, but he could have been great. So I'd say Balotelli. Obviously, you've got the Ravel Morrisons. I'd say Jack Wilshere from an Arsenal perspective for myself as well. So I'd say them. Apologies. I'd say them, to be honest with you, my dude. Moving forward, Faris has said, would you take Todd Cantwell at Arsenal? I really like him. Yeah, I would take him at Arsenal, of course. Mr. Abil, I can't say your name, my guy, but Mr. Abil, forgive me for mispronunciation, you said, first of all, realistically, if our expected transfer exit, how much do you think we can raise? This is what you've said word for word. You've You mentioned a couple of names. You said Socrates, Mustafi, Mkhitaryan, Kolasinac and Aubameyang, in brackets praying Aubameyang stays. Aubameyang's probably we're breaking even. We're getting our 50 odd million back that we paid for him. El Nene, how long's a piece of string? Maybe a 5 to 10 million, being generous. Mustafi, anything from 5 to 15, 20-ish sort of thing. Mkhitaryan, anything from 10 to 15 sort of region. Kolasinac should be able to bring a 20 odd something as well, because he's a decent left back. Socrates will be a cut price fee in my opinion. You've also asked, what's your opinion on Thomas Rosicky? Me, myself, I thought he was another underrated player ruined by injuries. If you see my interview with... in fact, let me not bait it. There's another interview I got to come out. But he spoke... Someone I've done it with spoke about Rosicky in it. And they said he's a different sort of player. He's a different sort of player. And that's from seeing him up close. I mean, if you love football, you love Thomas Rosicky. He's crazy. Like he was a good passer, extremely intelligent. You know, he's shown it at where was he before? Sparta. He was at something. Was it Prague? That's it. He was at Prague. Then he was obviously at Dortmund. He came to Arsenal. I mean, Rosicky's a serious player. If he never got some of them injuries, he could have, you know, had more of a say in relation to Arsenal. But technically, he was sound. He was a good guy. He was energetic, and he played with 110% commitment, man. So yeah, man, big up yourself for the questions. That's what I believe. Anyways, thanks for your questions. Omer said, what do you expect from Arteta and his players once football returns? To try and get top 4, which we can't do. But I'd just say try and keep moving in the right direction for Arteta. Obviously, keep reinventing yourself, keep learning fast, because he is a relative novice as a manager. Players keep buying into what Arteta is doing, and that's all I can hope for, because there isn't much more, my guy. Rick has said, who's the worst player you have seen represent Arsenal? I have to start again. Hey bro, hope you're well. Who's the worst player you have seen represent an Arsenal shirt? So you mean playing an Arsenal shirt essentially? Might not necessarily be because of ability, but I'd say just because I just don't like the man. And you don't know me, I don't like this. I just find, I don't know him personally, but from what I saw as a fan, I just don't like Gallas. I think Gallas was terrible. I think Scalacci was terrible. I think Pascal Segan was terrible. I think Giroud was terrible. Giroud was terrible. I think Senderos was terrible, but he's not the worst, and he did have some decent games, to be fair to him. I'd probably say for me, it'd probably be Carl Jenkinson for me personally. I know certain people get him, and I know he's an Arsenal fan and stuff, and he lived his dream. I just don't think he's a Premier League player. I don't think he's a Championship player. I think he's a League One, if anything, sort of player. I don't really know how he's a professional footballer. I don't really know how he got to play for Arsenal. Again, it shows football's a funny old game of opinions. And I have seen actually this season non-league / League 2 centre-halves, fullbacks that are actually better than Jenkinson. But my opinion doesn't matter. Credit to Jenkinson. Wenger believed in him. Arsenal believed in him. Nottingham Forest currently believe in him, and he's there. So yeah, man, these are the names. I'd have to probably have a more of a sit down and a think. But probably say them. My guy. Rarest said, would you ever make videos about other clubs talking about them, or maybe transfers in general on your channel in the Premier League, Serie A and La Liga? Well, I do a bit of that. I bring out some general videos in general, but I bring out whatever videos I feel like talking about, which typically has to be speaking about Arsenal. Who knows, my guy? Who knows, man? It could be something. Who knows? Patrick has said, I think Tim Krul would make a perfect number 2. What's your thoughts? Yeah, he probably would, to be fair with you. I don't know about perfect, but he'd be decent. Would he want to sit down and be number 2? It's a question he'd have to ask himself. You've also asked, maybe is it time to start looking for solutions to our squad problems in England, be it mid-table or bottom table or even Championship? Well, Championship, there's deals to be done, but you've got to move for players early, especially the young ones. Obviously, it's all fun and games saying looking at the mid-tables and lower league teams, but we all know English players specifically are going to come with a premium. Like looking at a couple of clubs, I'd like to go to Norwich and get definitely Max Aarons. I'd see what they have to say about a couple of them. Cantwell and Max Aarons, you're probably looking about 50 to 70 million on them 2 players, to be fair with you. Because you're probably getting 40 for Max Aarons, maybe 40, 50. Todd Cantwell's probably 30, 40-ish. So, you know, that might not be seen as value for money necessarily. I'm not saying that. And I'm pretty sure you can look at a couple of other lower teams. Now, Wolves typically finish below Arsenal, so right now it doesn't make sense. But Wolves you describe as a mid-table team. I'd love João Moutinho for a year or two if that could have been done a few years ago. Definitely Ruben Neves. How much are they asking for Ruben? 50 odd million. So how practical is it really? Leicester obviously like Wolves in the Champions League spot. But at times they've been a top 10 team. How much would it cost to take Telemans, Maddison? Who else have they got? Chilwell. Ndidi, Hamza Choudhury. I'm just naming players that get linked with moves typically. These sort of man, it's going to be a madness really trying to sign them really. Look how much Mahrez costs. Look how much Mahrez went to City for. Look how much Maguire went to United for. So you know, teams are not being bullied. This ain't like 10 years ago where you could say, listen, I want your player. It's done. It's not that. You know, Leicester shown they won't be bullied. If you want my player, you're going to have to wait, and you're going to do it on our terms, and you're going to have to pay over the odds, which they've done for such people. So yeah, I would advocate that, but you probably have better luck looking at the Championship and stuff and looking at breakout players or players that can address areas before it becomes mainstream. Samuel Gray has said, if Aubameyang refuses to sign, praying he does, would you consider swapping Aubameyang for Tammy Abraham plus cash? Nope, just give me the cash. No disrespect to Tammy Abraham. I'd rather just get the cash. I wouldn't mind Tammy, but I just don't think it'd be a good deal. I'd rather just take the peas. In fact, saying that, from a sporting perspective, you've had Tammy Abraham, who's probably rated at about 50 million himself. He's got his best days ahead of him. And cash, you know what? It could be a lot worse. But I'd rather, not just necessarily Chelsea, I'd rather just sell Aubameyang outright. And to be fair, Chelsea would be stupid to swap Tammy Abraham and cash for him, because I think Tammy should be, you know, in an ideal world, I think Chelsea fans would probably want a Diego Costa, in that you've got someone that's getting 20 league goals or such in and about, and you've got Tammy who's shown he can, you know, have a couple patches where he's not scoring, but definitely shown he can do something, and done quite well to carry Chelsea at times. You have two of them in your side of strikers, rotating, competing, you know, maybe even starting together. They're getting the goal sort of thing. So Chelsea would be silly to let him go, in my opinion, regardless of their plans, which I don't know. You've also asked me, I'm excited to see Emil Smith-Rowe, considering his development at Huddersfield, and would I loan him out or play him next season? It's a difficult one. I think if the opportunity to go out on loan in the Premier League arises, then I think it's something he'd have to entertain and we'd have to think about, really and truly. My first plans would actually be to keep him in the team, but he needs to get football. And you know, if Arteta says you can stay, but you're not, it's not like a Joe Willock thing where, you know, Joe Willock's getting games at times, then there's no point being on the peripheral, go and get games. And how much games could he get? Because he's the future, he'd get game time, but you know, we're in a delicate position. Are we going to stand there and wait for him to show his consistency in games? And you look at it, Arteta might say, do you know what, just in sheer bodies, Joe Willock's ahead of you at the moment. On paper, we've still got Mesut Ozil. I might try some other things. You need to move. So I would love him to get a chance next season. But it's no rush. You know, he can go out on loan again. It's not the end of the world. I'm in the balance, because if a Premier League team, like, I don't know, if Bournemouth come in for him, or if Villa was still in the league, they're two teams I think would suit his profile well. Even Norwich this year. If these sort of teams and projects arise, then I'd entertain it really. But my first plan would be to keep him and utilise him in some capacity. I think he's got a big future ahead of himself, whether it's at Arsenal or elsewhere. But I guess it's a question really for Arteta. Shamoya said, if we lose Oba and Laka in the summer, would Timo Werner be an ideal replacement? I'd definitely entertain Werner. Whether he'd entertain us is a different story, but considering his release clause, you can definitely do a lot worse. Miley said, if you were given the funds to build a new spine for Arsenal, name the players you'd get in each position. Bless up, King. I'm not going to lie, no disrespect to you, but I try and stay away from these transfer things and who would you sign and things. You've not really been, no disrespect, but you've not been specific, so I'm not too sure. I'm assuming you mean if we're allowed significant funds, which isn't really, it's a subjective one. Off the top of my head, Sangare of Toulouse, Szoboszlai would be entertained. I would entertain Partey. Centre half, we've got to go and get a centre half, so we've got to go out for me, go and get Upamecano, or any of the centre halves you see me speak about, go and get them. Off the top of my head, this is always difficult. Probably bring in Gabriel Veron. If I have said Szoboszlai already, we'd try a cheeky bid for Kai Havertz or Hossam Aouar, whether they're going to happen or not. So I'd say Hossam Aouar, Partey / Sangare, I can never say his name, Sangri, centre half, whatever one I've been linked with, Canute as well, Leipzig also. So yeah, man, I'm trying to think of a mid-20s centre-half that I think is attainable for Arsenal, that we can actually get done. But that would be it, my guy, man. I'll go after some centre-halves and midfielders. 1-1 has said, well, it's kind of the same. Sorry, bro, you've asked one of the same questions, really and truly. You said, if you have unlimited funds and can sign any player you want to, who do you sign? For Arsenal, of course. You've said unlimited funds, so I could sign whoever I wanted. So I'm going to say Lionel Messi, Kylian Mbappe, really and truly. If you was to say P's to get things done, but not like them sort of man there, then me personally, Szoboszlai, I still think Szoboszlai are one of the two players I'd love at this club, without a doubt. I'd actually like Zaha as well. I know there's other targets, maybe even better targets, but I wouldn't mind Zaha at the club. Yeah, to be fair with you, there'd probably be the names. Ousmane Dembele, cheeky bid if it could be entertained. Jadon Sancho as well, if it could be entertained. But again, you know, it is what it is. You said, will Jamaica reach the next World Cup? Hopefully, but you know, a betting man probably wouldn't put money on the table for that, unfortunately, my guy. So yeah. Sorry, people, I've lost the questions. Not Gia said, what formation would you like to see us stick with in the future? Do you see Arteta sticking with a 4-2-3-1? I do, but what I like about Arteta, he's got freedom within a framework. He's got it appears he has one central way of playing, but according to games we have seen and we will see, he might tweak a couple things. So I'm a 4-3-3 man / 4-2-3-1 man by trade, by design, by heart. That's my immediate bias, and I don't know if Arteta's going to do that, but you'd think in terms of balance at Arsenal, that would be the best, really and truly. So I'm inclined to believe such, my dude. Ziad has said, when do you think Arsenal can get back into competing again, and is Arteta the right man to do it? Well, so far, listen, it's a long way to be said in relation to is Arteta the right man to do it, but I believe he is, and he's shown me that so far. Competing again, do you know how long's a piece of string? Because you're hearing the financial problems of our club. You know, we're seeing the level of the playing staff, and you know the way we've been managed off the field. We're not in the best of health. So the word compete is subjective. I don't know. I would love to know. I'd love to sit here and say we're gonna put more of a fight in for top 4 next season, and I think so to a degree with Arteta. But you know, he's only one man, and really Arteta really can't change that. I know he's the manager and ultimately he's the fool, guys, if anything goes wrong. But there's not too much he could do, people. There's really not. He's shown he can coach players because he's getting Mustafi and players that, if not, some might say Xhaka, players you didn't feel were good enough. He's getting them playing well. But, you know, he can only take these sorts so far. They're doing well, but who's to say they're going to be doing this a year from now? So, how long's a piece of string, my dude? Teacher Blacks, big up yourself. You said, big up DG. Thank you very much for that. You said, with Bundesliga returning next week, allegedly, what team and young players are you looking forward to watching? And also, what do you think of Leon Bailey? Well, Bailey's a yard man, so of course I love him, my guy. I think he's had a bit of a tough season this season. Not really set the world alight as much as he could, but I still love him. I still think he's got a bright future. I still would love him at Arsenal. I still think he's a baller. In relation to young players, in Germany, if it does return, then I typically watch the Gladbach. I don't really have a bias for Germany. I watch the Leverkusens and the Gladbachs and the Bremens, and I like to watch Stuttgart as well, and Hamburg in the bottom divisions. Hamburg to catch when Amici might play. Stuttgart because Mislintat's there, and they've got a couple other young players there. And then I don't really have an affiliation. I like to watch Dortmund. In fact, that's one team in Germany I say I like to watch because of Jadon Sancho. I'll watch Bayern Munich, but I wouldn't say I like to watch it. Like I wouldn't say I like to watch it, really and truly. I only really like to watch Arsenal or youth tournaments and things like that. But I'd say that. Faris has said, if you were England manager, who's your first goalkeeper? Probably Pope or Henderson. Would you be afraid of their inexperience? Of course it's a thing, and it's a delicate situation because on current form it's Henderson. It should be Henderson, but international form's a difficult one. Obviously, sadly, with the coronavirus, you know, a tournament's been delayed. That could work to our advantage because it could, when football does get playing again, Henderson could be given some friendlies and getting up to that level. I think Henderson should be it. Pickford probably will go and be first choice, but I think on current form, it probably, without a doubt, it can't not be Henderson. Dean Henderson of United / Sheffield United as well. So I agree with that. Philip has said, what are your top 5 stadiums in the Premier League? I know it's not the Premier League, but does Wembley count? Because in England, I'll say Wembley. I actually like Wembley a lot. I don't. If I was playing there, if I was a manager, if I was playing there, beyond the fact it's a big stadium, if I had to do what Spurs have done, you know, a couple of years ago, at Spurs when they were there, I wouldn't like it because, you know, I think it loses its sentiment when you're at Wembley all the time, and I do think you can be quite far from the ground as a supporter. But I just like Wembley. I mean, I've got fond memories of working there. You know, it's Wembley. So asterisk if Wembley counts. I'm obviously going to say the Emirates Stadium. I like Anfield. I think Anfield. If I was a footballer, I'd love to have played at Anfield. I'd actually like to play. I would have liked to play at Selhurst Park. I think the Palace fans go quite crazy with that. So I've said Arsenal, Palace, Anfield, 5. 5's a tough one still. Old Trafford. I mean, it's Old Trafford. It's Manchester United. Again, if I was a player, I'd like to play there. I might say Newcastle because, again, you know, Newcastle's a big club historically, and, you know, we might have to start supporting them now. I'm playing. Hopefully they don't overtake Arsenal, but I don't think there's a 5th. You know, I wouldn't say Stamford Bridge for me. Yeah, man. I think what I said. I said Arsenal, Palace, Manchester United, Liverpool. Probably it. To be fair with you, my dude. I don't think there's a 5th really, my guy. Yeah, man. Nah, I don't think there's a 5th. I wouldn't pull it there, but at times it does look fun to play at Bournemouth, and I wouldn't put Bournemouth at the high end of the list. I just think it can be quite rocking because Bournemouth tend to have them booky games. Like, you remember the 4-4 where Giroud, rather than going and getting the ball back to go and restart, he was doing his little celebration. That 4-4, was it 3-3, 4-4? Them sort of partisan games, it must be fun to be part of that atmosphere as a supporter. So I'd say there. I've been to Watford, but I wouldn't say Watford. But because I've been to Watford's ground, I'm going to throw Watford in there to make it 5, my guy. But I'm really forcing 5, definite 4. Jack Hammond has said you get 100 million to start with. You can sell and keep whoever with realistic prices and try to make the best realistic squad for Arsenal next season. I mean, the word realistic is subjective. 100 million isn't going to take me far. Similar to last question, I'm trying to get Aouar. I'm trying to get Aouar and Szoboszlai. That's where I'm starting. And you know, they're 2 signings I'd like to get in quickly, but I more want to deal with the outgoing. So there's not too many different ways I can answer that question again and again, my dude. But thank you for it regardless. Your username's gone, but somebody asked, do you think Arsenal should move for Yari Vestashin as the Belgium league is likely to be hit financially? Of course, I think he's decent. Mohammed Hamid Ahmed has said, is it true Peter Osgood and Ruud Gullit both had trials at Arsenal? I don't know that, my guy. I don't know. That's a question you're going to have to go to Google. I don't know for Ruud Gullit. I wouldn't imagine so. Peter Osgood, I'm not too sure. Maybe. So yeah, man, that would be it. Smile Please said, do you have any means of formulating an opinion on Adam Hozek? I ain't heard that name in my life, but I'm gonna assume that's a Hungarian lad because of the name or from them sort of sides. Let me type it in. Learn something new every day. 17. Where's the... I swear down. Hey, Smile Please, you're pluggy. Czech Republic lad. Know nothing about him. See, I can't front. If he's played at any international tournaments that I've watched, then I haven't taken an eye to him, people. It's one of them. Because sometimes I go back through things and I've missed players, people. Like I look at in 2007 when Tony Kroos won the Under-17s World Cup, if I remember correctly. I knew about Kroos, but I was looking at a few of them names. And I was like, oh, I was watching you all them years ago, but I didn't clock you, sort of thing. So if that happened with me, then forgive me. But I don't know nothing about this guy. But I mean... You know, Czech Republic produces some ballers. He plays for Sparta Prague, which again produced ballers. He made his debut at 16. He's 17 years of age. What position is he? He's looking like a striker, and he is a striker. He's contracted until 2022. I don't have an opinion on my man, bro, but I'm going to have one soon. So ask me that question and ask me that next time, people. Yeah, man. So if it, you know, you probably have to go on Scout Nation or something. Cause I don't know about my Donny, about my man, my guy. I can't lie. I really can't lie. Good question though, and like I said, I learn all the time. You put me onto him, but shout out to you. Smile, please come do a video of me, man. Let's do up this scouting thing, my guy. Moving forward though, Ziad has said, do you think players taking a pay cut means no signings for Arsenal in the summer? Well, generally in football, teams that are taking pay cuts, I'd be inclined to believe, not that you're not necessarily going to sign players and do stuff, but there's going to be some restrictions, or there's been some alterations made to what was going to be the transfer plans until this obviously virus took place. I'm inclined to believe that. And if I took a pay cut personally and I see my club go out and spend, I don't know, 70 million on someone, give them 250k a week, more than me and whatnot significantly, I'm looking at them side eyes, people, really and truly. So hopefully we can still make, Arsenal and other teams can still make signings, not Spurs, but I don't know. Tracy Chest has said, which are the rarest traits you have ever seen in young players? It's a difficult one, man, because I'd say for me it's more the mental. Like, it genuinely, like, it's Kylian Mbappe. Like, I look at Kylian Mbappe when he's playing at the under-19s Euros. Like, he clearly is a baller. And Jadon Sancho as well, for the under-17s, specifically the under-17s Euros as well. Like, you know, he's Gab Jesus as well. Like, you know, they're ballers, but it's like it's not nothing to do with the technical quality, because they're all good with a football. They can all dance past, man. They can all look good on YouTube and all these things. But it's the cerebral nature. It's like, for Mbappe, it's like you could genuinely tell he saw the whole situation develop before it's happened. He was very calculated. For Sancho, it was the fact that that shocked me is again mental, is that he wasn't phased. It didn't matter if he's away from home, at home, different opponents. He wanted to stand up and be counted, and these sort of things, the mental aspect shocks me. I always get shocked by movement as well, because I do think the older you get, it has to become less about, obviously you have to affect the game when you're on the ball, but it's all about movement. It's all about seeing the picture. You look at Xavi, Iniesta, I'm saying midfielders now, but why are they the best at what they do in any position? The best players are the best at what they do because they read situations before it's happened and acts accordingly. The best centre-half, without naming names, is not the guy who stops that striker, who goes, dances past bare man and he slide tackles him, great 1v1. Don't get it twisted, that's great. And that's glamorous, you get it, that's good. But nobody speaks on the man that the same scenario, the same centre-half, another centre-half might have seen this situation develop. He stepped out from defence, nipped the ball, you know, kicked it out to the left back, and it's not a thing, so it's not spoken about. Clearly that's not going to look as good on YouTube as, you know, the last ditch tackles and stuff, but reading situations, and I'd say it's everybody does it, but it's a rarity when people do it to a calculated nature, to be fair. So I'd say that great question, Tracy, definitely my favourite question so far. Big up yourself. Adam Miller said, hey Deluded, how likely do you think it is that Sacko signs a new contract, and do you think it's already been done already? I'm thinking it would make horrible PR to announce the cutting of the wage bill and then say Sacko gets a pay increase. Well, to be fair, you know, Sacko has to sign a new deal. We still have to get players to sign contracts. So sooner or later, whether it's not Sacko or someone else, we have to get it done. I do agree with you, because I've said this in videos. Regardless if I'm Sacko, which obviously he's not going to earn as much as if Aubameyang was going to sign a new deal. Aubameyang, any players coming into this club, any players at the club are thinking about new deals, even Martinelli at this point. I'm looking at everything a bit side-eyes, because if you say you got pay cuts and other people getting rises, I'm using that to help me. To be fair, I'm not going to lie to you lot, people. So I hope he signs a new deal. Until he signs it, I don't know. And you've made some great points in what you said, Adam. Somebody said, so buy us for 44 million, what are you saying? If Arsenal are in a healthier position, then yeah. If Arteta wants him, then I'll sanction it. But I'd probably be inclined to try and get him another year on loan from Real Madrid, or, you know, seek alternatives. Ziad has said, what made you support Arsenal? I'm a North London lad. You know, my family's full of Arsenal and Spurs fans. Couple of United. I mean, you know, my United cousin who watches my videos. You know, I see you with your season tickets, Sky Sports and that. It was always going to be that. I'm a North London lad. Thierry Henry was a massive influence. I mean, I look back at the early 2000s, man, and it was just 50 Cent, G-Unit, you know, all the typical R&B songs. I remember all I used to want to do is watch MTV and be a rapper, and then be Thierry Henry, or be Rivaldo, Ronaldo Lima, or Ronaldinho, or Patrick Vieira. These were the easiest times in my life, man. So, everybody was, you know, you had the influences, and all of my friends were Arsenal fans as well. So if you wasn't an Arsenal fan, you was going to have to pick one. It was either, I mean, for me, it was mainly, you know, it was Arsenal, United. See, a couple man start to become Chelsea fans. A couple man were Spurs fans, and we used to look at them like, why? Like, one of my good friends, we used to look at him in primary like, why are you Spurs fan? He's like, my dad's a Spurs fan. He's like, your dad must not love you then, because he wants to bring heartache to your thing. But it was always going to be one of them things, on a serious note. Got some of my friends support Man City now. Used to support Arsenal, and he's actually been on my show already. So yeah. Y has said, hey DG, would Arsenal have won the Champions League in 2006 if it wasn't for the red card and Perez's substitution in the final? Thanks. You know, we could have stopped. If we did certain things in the FA Cup, United might not have a treble. If all them going back through the invincible times, you know, all the times we had to come back in games, we wouldn't have been invincibles. You know, United had some luck on the way when they won the Champions League in '99. Any great team has had good moments where it could have went other ways, and the flip side is, you know, we lose. We can sit here and say ifs, buts and whatnot. Maybe. I definitely felt confident. I think we would have won if, you know, apologies. I think we would have won if Etu was correctly flagged offside, and I think if Almunia could catch a ball when he came on, we'd have half a chance. You know, we was a couple of moments technically from winning that. So maybe if we stay to 10 men, we do win that. But it wasn't meant to be, really and truly. So it is what it is. Exorma Gaming has said, X-Raw Gamer, can't say your name, my guy. You said, why are Arsenal so poor when our revenue streams are so high? And do you think Kroenke has taken on this whole poor Arsenal keep trying thing to keep spending low? Of course, I do think there are we evidently have financial constraints. I think Kroenke needs to leave. He is the one. You know, if he wanted to win Prem and wanted to do these things, you know, the mentality would trickle down. I don't think he wants to do that. So it's to their own devices. But there's obviously been other factors at play. I just think he doesn't care. Like, he doesn't. We're not here to win Premier League. We're just here to make this peas and does his other thing. So I don't really think he gives a crap. That's my answer to that one, my dude. Really and truly, I'll be very honest with you. Maybe he does hide behind it, but I just don't think he gives a crap. If he wanted to be league champions, we wouldn't do half the things we do. We wouldn't have our best young player, arguably one of the best young players in the squad's contract running out. You wouldn't have one of the most lethal strikers in Europe's contract running out. And you know, you'd hold your executives to account when they say they lost any players in their last 2 years. They're going to sort it out. I've got nothing to say. Apologies, people, as I go to my old Q&A from last week, because some of you have asked me some questions. Swamps has said, quick scouting question. What the hell happened to Dylan Crow? Looked like he was progressing well, had his inclusion with the England youngsters, then got injured, and I think but simply dropped off the face of the earth after that. He's young, he can still get. What is he at Huddersfield, if I remember correctly? He was, you know, he can still get. He's probably just had a bad season. Let's not exaggerate a bit. You know, it is what it is. To be fair, I haven't been tracking him for a minute, but I think that's it. John Cyrus has said, of all the young players playing in the Premier League, from what you've seen, who do you think has the highest ceiling? Well, I think Mason Greenwood can be top player. Obviously, Martinelli and Sacko, I'm always going to say, can be top players. Callum Hudson-Odoi, I know he's had some injuries, but I think he can be a top player. You know, is there any more off the top of my head that I can... What other youngsters are there about in the Prem now at the moment? Yeah, I'd say them. I think them, to be fair with you, because I've listed them. I think Greenwood can really be special, man. So, yeah. Matilda has said, do you feel the club should prioritise stability of a player to the system over the overall quality of the player? No. You need to get both. Like, the player has to be levels, and we need to do our due diligence to see, can he play in this system? If not, is there a high possibility he can adapt? You can't substitute the quality of player, because Arsenal have been doing that. We have been looking at the play, the position, and sometimes when you make cheap decisions, like you've seen, especially with what we're doing in defence, it can be expensive. It can be expensive to not do your due diligence when you're going to spend 40 odd million on the centre half. It can cost you when you're penny pinching in many positions, because it becomes expensive when the lack of ability is there. So yeah, man, I'd say that. I think that's all the questions via the old Q&A, people. Let me go on Twitter now, because I asked you lot now, and I believe we have about 7 questions from such. Pardon me. Lyle, big up yourself, Lyle, man, because you're always about, and so is Tom. Tom's question's next, but first, Lyle asked, big up DG all the time, thank you very much. I'm 100% confident that we will sign Oba and Sacko to new deals. I hope I shared that confidence. I'm confident about Sacko. Don't know for a Barry and it's in the balance. I hope it happens, my guy. I want to wake up one day and I see Yellow Bar on Sky Sports, new deals, pictures. You know the picture I'm talking about. You got the picture holding the shirt and you got the picture of the contract. Need that to happen, man. But you've also asked, firstly, would you sign Mangala Sarr on a free? And if we don't get Upamecano, would you go for Paul Torres of Villarreal? Probably butchered his name. He said he wants to stay at Villarreal, and you know he'd probably looking at 30 to 50 million, 30 probably, to be nice, 50 probably, and I don't know if we've got that outlay to spend on a guy who said he doesn't want to leave Villarreal and he wants to keep developing there at the moment. But I really like him. Manglisar's a no-brainer. You know, he's had a tough time at left back when he's been put there, but he can play there. He can play at centre half. He's a free transfer with the current stuff that's going on in the globe. Could be a very shrewd addition, and obviously he's got potential. What do you mean? I'm really hungry, man. Thomas said, "Do you think the montage Sacko posted on Twitter means anything in regards to his Arsenal future?" Do you mean what of like his clips of his games and that? I'm not too sure, my dude. I don't think it does. I think he's just putting it up because it's just him playing football. Live from Planet X has said, "Do you think playmakers like Ozil/Bergkamp will become extinct? In current football trends, they are obsolete. Do you think that will change in the future?" Yeah, football's in cycles, man. Football's in cycles. Like a couple of years ago, it's all about three at the back. People older than me remember when three at the back was common, playing and them things there. So it's cycles. You know, we'll get back. I eventually feel we'll get back to 4-4-2 days. Right now, I agree with what you said in that. You know, if you want to be like Bergkamp more second striker, so it's a bit different. But if you want to be a poetry and motion sort of done, it is a bit tough because if you're going to do that, you've got to be like tenacious. If you're not tenacious in physique and stuff, you're going up and down and stuff. Football is becoming about less poets and it's more industrial. This is the trend we're at. So you'd say yes. I mean, Ozil's, it's no surprise how with this trend, Ozil's gone down for obvious reasons. Ozil's clearly declined. Ozil's clearly failed to adapt when you look at someone like David Silva. But the game has left him. So 100% they're becoming obsolete to a degree. Emmanuel said, "Would you accept Xhaka as captain next season as a fresh start under Arteta?" I'll support whoever Arteta wants to make captain, and Xhaka seems to be a favoured member of the side, as he has been from all the managers. Whatever you say about him, he does give off that captain stuff. It's not the end of the world if he's the captain, because, you know, I know some people still hold things over him, but it's been done. For me, more important than that is, you know, we need to there should be 11 captains. Obviously, you've got one captain, but everybody else stand up to be counted. You look at most teams that have won the league, everybody's a captain in their own way. You look at Liverpool, if it's not necessarily ability, everybody stands up to be counted. The strikers take responsibility, the midfielders, the wingers, the keepers, everybody. Arsenal, yes, we had Patrick Vieira might have been the captain, but you look at them 11, could you really distinguish who is the captain between Jens Lehmann, Sol Campbell, Thierry Henry, Patrick, and the rest of them? Really? You couldn't. Why? Because they're all of the same sort of makeup, and that's what I want. So the captain thing's really irrelevant to me. I'm not holding nothing over Xhaka, to be fair with you. It is what it is in that regards. Abdul said, "Do you rate Smith Rowe and do you believe he's ready to start as our 10? Give him a chance." And I rate him quite highly, so I hope he makes it here, my dude. Really do. Finally, Chris Leary is there, and he's another loyal supporter, and I'd like to say happy belated birthday to you, my dude. So it is what it is. You've asked, admittedly, the way you structured the sentence, my guy, I don't know what you've actually asked. You know, you said, "Always loving the content, DG. It's a bit cliche, but I do love a top 10/20 or tier list video format." Oh, now I'm getting you, my guy. Now I'm getting you. How about a few? Thinking about your passions, maybe academies, ones that got away, or best academies, scouting tier list, maybe. You know, I'll look into it, my dude. I'll look into it. I'll never say no to anything. You put me on the spot a bit, because admittedly, I don't really know too much about them sort of vids or watch them sort of vids, my guy. But yeah, man, I'll definitely look into that. And like I said, man, happy belated, my dude, and thank you for your consistent support. Like I thank all of you lot for your consistent support. I know he probably doesn't want me to show up his face, but big up yourself, my dude. It's your birthday, well, belated thing, and that. But yeah, I'll look into it, man. I'll look into it. I don't know too much about all them. You know, I know what the top 10 videos and things like that, but in relation to my top 10, I don't know what I do, man. Top 10 academies, I don't even know if I could come up with a top 10. Do you get it? Like, I think you lot think I'm more intelligent than I actually am at times, really and truly. But that's a pleasure, and it's been a lovely Q&A, but all good things come to an end. I am quite tired. I would love to eat, but this had to get done. People, DG, I'm out. Thank you for watching and rocking as usual. Please comment with questions for next week's Q&A. Please keep an eye open for the community tab on YouTube, where I ask you lot for your questions. Obviously, if you're on Twitter, follow me. The socials are in the description. I also ask on there. Obviously, make sure you check out the Deluded podcast. New episode is out now. Link is in the description for all of that. If you're on Google, Apple, Spotify, and the rest of it, it's all covered. Check out the rest of the DG content. I know you ain't seen it all. And yeah, man, most importantly, take care of your family. Take care of your health. Health is wealth. Hopefully, you're all fit and ready to, binge on DG vids. And we'll meet again soon. People, Deluded. People, Deluded, I'm back again. At this point, the Q&A is done, but I missed out a question, rookie mistake. And just to highlight, I don't like to make any mistakes or miss out any questions, and I try my hardest. Alex has asked me now. Alex is actually a great friend of mine and a former footballer himself, coming up through the ranks. We used to play for the same team, and it is, I don't know how to describe it before I get on with his question, but strangers recognising your thing is one thing, but what really shocked me is that, my close friends, my associates, my former teammates and people I grew up with, how much they took towards, me trying a little thing with this YouTube stuff. And, he was one of them, and it really shocked me. So these are the sort of people as to why I keep going, so I can't miss out these questions. But he's gone with one, and he said, in 2005, the Ballon d'Or ranked Zlatan Ibrahimovic 8th, Kaka 9th, and Terry/Etu in 10th. Compared to 2019, where Bernardo Silva, Mahrez and Frankie de Jong occupy these spots. Don't get me wrong, they're top players, in brackets. Do you think the quality of top players has dropped off over years? And if so, why? Now, I don't want to scream. I share what you think, man. By the tone of you saying this, I don't want to seem like them guys, even though I'm only 25 and saying, oh, back in my day. I do think that to a degree. Do you know what? It's not really fair to say that because the game's advanced and there was top players then, there's top players now. If you was a top player then, I believe you'd be a top player now. If you're a top player now, I think you'd be a top player then. But I do think, there was more widespread competition. You look at the strikers, there was bare strikers at a point, man. Now you look at the game in today's day and age, obviously there's top quality strikers. You've got Suarez, you've got Aguero, you've got Lewandowski, you've got strikers about. But back in the days, you could wheel off Thierry Henry, R9, and we could, I'm not going to do it, but we could sit here all day. Shevchenko, Del Piero, we could Raul, we could be here with Bear Man all day. Van Nistelrooy, bare guys from England or wherever. Eto'o, like you've actually just said there as well. I do think so, because no disrespect to any of these players, I do think so. I do think, I'm not going to say it wasn't political then, because Thierry Henry should have won a Ballon d'Or, so there's always been politics, but I do think the club you play for plays more of a role in where you rank than back then than now. I do think there's even more politics. I do think we're quick to throw around the world-class traits and all of these things. Why that is, I don't know, man. I don't know, because the game's advanced. I don't know. I don't know. Is it a thing where we're not looking for the right things? Because we live in a day and age where obviously the game's advanced, but when you mention a defender, you don't mention their defending. You're mentioning their goal. You're mentioning can they play with their feet. Strikers are being told. I've seen stuff, and I get it, there's validity in what I'm about to say, but I'm pretty sure, my guy, and everyone listening, you've heard someone, there's been a top quality striker, and you might have been in a debate with your friend or someone, and someone's gone, oh, he just scores goals. Do you know how mad that sounds? He just scores goals. Like, I do think it was harder back then. And then I look at Frankie de Jong, obviously, 2019, much of that was probably off his Ajax season in the Champions League, so he deserves to be there. No disrespect to any of these players, but I do think so. I do think it's easier to be ranked. Maybe not necessarily win it, but definitely be ranked. Why that is, I don't know, man. I don't know. I just feel there is definitely a drop off in top quality. Don't get me twisted. I do think there's widespread quality around, but I do think, especially strikers, there was definitely more widespread top strikers now than there is now. And midfielders, it's a bit in the balance for me, because there's top midfielders then, there's top midfielders now. I don't really know. That's a good question, my guy. I can't pinpoint really as to why that is. I don't know, man. Maybe I don't know. I don't want to say the competition has got smaller or bigger, because I was about to say two contradictory points. But I thought that's a good crowd. I don't know, man. I agree with what you're saying in that they're top players, but I do think it's easier to get ranked these days. I think you had to prove a bit more. Because there was obviously been one season wonders, but I think you had to to be recognised as a top player. I think you had to do to do, you know, you had to pull it out. I think there's too many players get to hide behind systems, and all of these things are a bit too much now. They did back then, but I do think that contributes towards it. And I think you really had to be a top player, man. Now everyone's a top player. You're seeing, well, no disrespect, but you've seen I'm not gonna do it, but you've seen world class thrown around bare people. You see it yourself. That's why I am very political with that word. I do think the bar has got lower. Maybe that's why you see the standards drop, because the bar has got lower. What we're actually looking for is different. Obviously, maybe Messi and Ronaldo messed it up in that. Obviously, them two are so gone. You know, everybody else looks normal. Maybe we'd appreciate certain players in general if them two weren't around, sort of thing. I do think a lot of players are unfortunate to be around in that era. But I don't know, man. In relation to finger pointing specifics, I don't know. It's a good debate. It's a very good debate. Definitely widespread. I think there was more quality players for me back then, and it's a difficult one because I say that now there's Lionel Messi and Ronaldo talking about this. Ibrahimovic and Xavi just stopped playing, sort of thing. Yeah, man, it definitely was harder. I mean, you know, even things like Fabio Cannavaro, that was a real defender. Like, I don't think he should have won in 06. Again, I think it should have been Henry, despite losing the Champions League and the World Cup finals that year. But I do think you had to try a bit harder, man. Obviously, you had Zidane about as well. You had Ronaldinho. Yeah, I do think you had to be more of a player. I think today's day and age, it was more you had to prove it, because people were almost like were writing you off before you've been given a chance. Nowadays, I think everybody's held as the next this, that, and the third before they've even turned up, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's not necessarily a good thing, but I don't know, man. That's a great question, Alex, my guy, man. I don't know, but I don't know why it is, but I definitely think widespread quality has dropped off, because there's still top quality strikers, of course. I've got crisp on my mouth. There's still top quality strikers, but for me, and you was a striker for Premier All-Star, so you must know this as well. I then genuinely think if we went back 10 years or so and you just looked at the sheer strikers or the players that were playing then at them times there to now, there's definitely more widespread quality. There's more man that is getting 20 league goals minimum. It's ridiculous, man. It really is. I do think there's some strikers that would hack it back then, but, you know, you could wheel off probably about 10, 20, 30 back. Okay, I'm exaggerating a bit, but back in the days, you get it. There used to be more in it. You had Eto'o, you had Bearman. Now there's not so many. Like, there's really not so many. Maybe the game's advanced, you know, it's not really about strikers. Nowadays, there's specialists in positions, but nowadays it's all false nines and wide forwards, and, you know, it's all about being kind of fluid and playing multiple positions. Being a specialist of one, but being able to play in multiple places. Even Aubameyang, someone who I describe as a striker. Obviously, throughout his career, he's played on the flanks, but that's something that's still done. There's very few players that I'd say are 100% fixated in their positions. What I mean by that is, again, for those who don't understand, of course, central midfielders are going to play in central mid, but I do think the roles are a bit blurred. I think in today's day and age, there's less emphasis on specifics, like what sort of midfielder are you? And again, for me, in an ideal world, you know, you're one role as a midfielder and then you branch off. You know, if you're box to box, cool, that's you by trade. No one's saying you can't do deep lying, no one's saying you can't do this. But I think there's too much of this thing. Like, not to bring Pogba into this, but what is Pogba? For me, he's best if you play him in a three-man midfield and he's a box-to-box / unofficial creative sort of guy, given a license to do that. Obviously defend, but not too much emphasis on that. But what is he? We know he's not a defensive mid, but his physique, people will throw that into the debate and say, why can't he do that? Will people say he's an attacking mid, box-to-box, deep lying, whatever. And that's said for everybody, not just him, that's everyone. Even Kevin De Bruyne, in his comments, described himself as a box-to-box midfielder. Many people won't. I feel there's an emphasis on being multifunctional and not necessarily a specialist of one role. And maybe that's a reason, but I don't know specifically, my guy. But that's definitely given me something to think about. And yeah, I really don't know, my dude. I really don't know. But nonetheless, it was a fantastic question. Sorry for missing you out initially. Sorry for, you know, extending this video for all you other guys listening, guys and gals listening. But, you know, I couldn't miss this out. I don't like to miss any of you out. So, on that note, people, I'm really out. Deluded, I'm out. Make sure you comment, subscribe, and do the rest so we can go again next week.